Right now at 6, a protest in relation to President Trump's immigration policies takes place in Joplin.
And we've got a pretty cold start to the day. It will be seasonably warm out there, and then we're talking snow. We'll look at that forecast, get you out the door coming up.
Plus, the annual Polar Plunge took place in Pittsburgh to help raise money for Southeast Kansas Special Olympics.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News at 6 a.m. I'm Elise Snowy.
And I'm Chris Warner. It is now Monday. It is February the 10th, 2025, day after the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Boy, what a rough game. I know everybody's talking about it, so I won't go on and on about it. But it was still good. As I've said, the Eagles knew who they were coming to play. They came prepared, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
But both sides did fantastic, and as we mentioned too, Kansas City to make it 3 times in a row is just impressive on its own. Whether they won or not, that's still an impressive
that opportunity,
feat.
it's great.
That's incredible. So hopefully you were able to watch the game last night. Hopefully you're heading into work at some point today, and if you're just gonna lounge around on the couch, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
That's all right, too, at this particular point. But if you are in our northern counties, you may not want to lounge around too long. You may want to get a few things here and there. And don't panic. Do not empty the stores of supplies. Just make sure you got a couple extra things to snack on at the house, because it's probably going to snow. Let's look outside, though. First, downtown Pittsburgh. It is not going to snow today, necessarily. All right, so you don't need to worry today. It'll be warm, it'll be cold, but seasonably cold. You know what I mean. We're looking pretty good. Downtown Pittsburgh, again, clouds. We've got mostly cloudy skies at this point. We will eventually just go to cloudy skies. MoDOT camera 20th and Rangeline. We've got 5 cars out there now. I'm wondering, I've been talking about it, I wonder how empty the roadways are going to be today, if it's going to end up being like a holiday or something like that. We've got winter storm watches in our northwestern counties, so that's what I was talking about. These officially go into effect tomorrow, and they are going to run until 6 o'clock Wednesday evening. This is where we could see those higher accumulations of snow. Now, on the broader view, just so you guys at home know, these winter storm watches go from about here all the way back through northern Kansas, north of I-70. So that's still kind of consistent to what we talked about last week, where it was looking more likely that the really heavy snow is going to be to our north. We will get some, but there are still, even to this day, uncertainties as to exactly how much we're going to get and how far south it's going to reach. But for today, nothing to worry about. Mostly cloudy skies to start, then just straight up cloudy skies. It'll be a bit breezy out there. But otherwise, again, temperatures will be seasonably cool across the region. This morning, though, it is a bit of a cold start. Mid-upper 20s across the board as we get our day underway. So that does mean kids getting on that school bus will want a jacket, as they're going to be into the upper 20s. Northeast winds 5 to 10, mostly cloudy. And then when that bus brings them back home, about the mid-40s. Cloudy skies, breezy east winds gusting occasionally upwards of 20, and mid to upper 40s is where we're headed for our highs as those clouds continue to increase. Now we'll start to see a light wintry mix overnight tonight. Nothing major tonight, but could lead to some slick spots tomorrow. In fact, at this point, nothing major tomorrow. It's Wednesday we're watching. We'll go over everything we do know and everything we don't know with you in the full forecast here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, we'll check in with you in just a bit, Chris. Thanks. Well, a protest in Joplin took place Saturday afternoon in relation to policies put forth by the Trump administration. The protest is similar to ones we've covered last weekend in both Carthage and Pittsburgh. The protest took place on the corner of 7th and Rangeline. No incidents have been reported. Well, a Pittsburgh woman says she finally has answers about whether a mold problem in her home was fixed. That's a story we originally brought to you back in September. After asking for the mold issue to be addressed, she was informed her lease would not be renewed. Now, after that report, she says it was the community who stepped up with a mold specialist offering to test her home. It's made her request accountability from the property management company.
I want them to pay. I do. I think it's their responsibility because they were the ones that have been negligent this entire time. It's not up to anybody else. I think that they should step up.
Well, tonight on KOAM, we'll have the details on what mold testing found in her home and what specialists say the findings could have impacts on her family's health. And now you can stay up to date with the latest news, weather, and sports with the KOAM Plus TV streaming app. It's available on Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV Plus, and Roku. The player is also available on our news and weather apps as well as our website. Watch live streaming anytime, absolutely free. The KOAM Plus TV streaming app. A Polar Plunge fundraiser was hosted Saturday in Pittsburgh to benefit Special Olympics Kansas. KOAM's Mitch Adams has more.
This time of year, some people dream about the summer. Despite cold weather and gloomy conditions, the Polar Plunge gives you a chance to take that dip that you've been itching for.
We ask ourselves why people want to always jump into cold water, but it's for a good cause, and we have plungers that have came for the last 20 years to jump in. It's just a way to spread the word and also get the community involved in everything that we do.
The plunge is simple. Register yourself or a team of brave friends, and once you're announced,
all right, guys,
jump right in.
1, 2, 3, go!
The proceeds from registration, which was a pledge of $100, are donated to Special Olympics Kansas.
So the money raised doesn't just go to a sporting event or an athlete, it goes to the entire experience. Our experiences with our athletes are all about improving their quality of life. So being able to have the funds to provide those experiences so the athletes can walk away with lunch and medals and socialization and hanging out with their friends and inclusion, that's really what today is all about.
One Special Olympics athlete from Pittsburgh explained his thoughts on the plunge.
Tell me what you think about the Polar Plunge.
I like the boat plunge too.
What do you think about the Polar Plunge?
It's too cold.
It's too cold?
Yeah.
Although the water is frigid, plungers did their best to make a splash in the community. In Pittsburgh, Mitch Adams, KOAM News.
Well, Pittsburgh Police and Fire, Galena Fire, and Haven Support Services were just some of the groups who participated in Saturday's fundraiser. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes coming up on the KOAM Morning News. A federal judge blocks Elon Musk's government efficiency team's access to key Treasury systems. Plus, the Philadelphia Eagles take home the Vince Lombardi Trophy after a dominating win over the Kansas City Chiefs. And Chris Warner returns with another look at your Monday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Well, topping Nation Watch this morning. Toyota has issued safety recalls for more than 140,000 vehicles. The first recall applies to 2024 to 2025 Toyota Tacomas. Toyota officials say the rear brake hoses can be damaged over time and increase the risk of a crash. The other recall is for 2025 Toyota Camrys and the Lexus NX and some Lexus RX models. Officials say those cars may have damaged seatbelts that may not meet certain strength requirements. Toyota and Lexus dealers will make repairs to the recalled cars free of charge. Well, over the weekend, the Boy Scouts of America rebranded to Scouting America. The organization announced the rebranding plan last year. The change officially goes into effect on Saturday, which is also the group's 115th anniversary. The Boy Scouts said the rebranding is part of its ongoing efforts to welcome every youth and family in the U.S. to experience the benefits of scouting. The decision came several years after the group began welcoming girls into Cub Scouting and Scouts BSA programs. A federal judge has restricted the Elon Musk-led government efficiency team from accessing a critical Treasury Department payment system. The order was issued early Saturday. Now it stops the access temporarily and demands the destruction of any downloaded information, saying there is risk of irreparable harm. The order came in response to a suit filed by New York Attorney General Letitia James and 18 other state attorneys generals against the Trump administration. The suit alleges that the team, led by Musk and staffed by young associates who were categorized as special government employees, have been unlawfully granted access to the Treasury system that previously was restricted to government employees who needed to perform specific tasks to operate the system. The Philadelphia Eagles pulled away with a big Super Bowl 59 win in the Big Easy, denying the Kansas City Chiefs a three-peat. Eagles star quarterback Jalen Hurts was the game's MVP, and President Donald Trump was at the game, which mixed in a lot of signature New Orleans flavor weeks after a deadly terror attack rocked the city. Danya Bacchus has more from New Orleans.
Super Bowl 59. The Philadelphia Eagles are flying high, taking home the Vince Lombardi Trophy after a dominating 40-22 win over the Kansas City Chiefs.
Eagles! Champions! I am through the moon right now.
Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts was named game MVP.
I truly believe offense wins games, but defense wins championships.
President Donald Trump was the first sitting commander-in-chief to attend a Super Bowl. He had predicted a Chiefs win, but the team struggled to put points on the board until the second half.
Credit to the Eagles, man. They played better than us from start to finish.
In addition to the game was the much-anticipated halftime show from Grammy winner Kendrick Lamar, which included appearances from actor Samuel L. Jackson, singer SZA, and tennis champion Serena Williams.
When you can see the full field and all the movements and Kendrick was amazing.
This being New Orleans, musicians from the Big Easy were well represented before kickoff.
They include Lettucey, Harry Connick Jr., and Grammy and Oscar winner Jon Batiste with the national anthem. Singer Lady Gaga gave an emotional performance on Bourbon Street honoring the victims of last month's terror attack there, as well as those impacted by the California wildfires and the recent plane crashes in Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. Danya Backus, CBS News, New Orleans.
This year's outcome was vindication for the Eagles after they lost to the Chiefs in Super Bowl 57. Next year's Super Bowl 60 will be played at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California, home of the San Francisco 49ers. And that's a look at some of today's top national stories. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we've got those clouds continuing to increase out there. You can see them on the Skywatch storm tracker rolling in from the west. We'll have those mostly cloudy to eventually cloudy skies and possibly even that wintry mix overnight tonight. Another look at your forecast when we come back.
A New York woman celebrated her 103rd birthday Friday. Elle McLogan met with Annie to find out the secret to her longevity, which includes eating cake.
Annie Pecci makes her own coffee, even on her birthday.
How old are you today?
103.
The family says their Oma, German for grandmother, is a wellspring of love and wisdom and a ruthless pinochle player. Her secret to eternal youth: keep moving and enjoy a daily slice of cake.
What type of cake do you eat?
Everything.
Born in Munich, she's lived in Middle Village since the 1960s, among caring neighbors in a house full of memories. She loves watching The Sound of Music and The Price is Right.
Determined. She wants to do everything on her own.
And when telemarketers call, she outwits them.
Now he hangs up.
But there are parts of her life she prefers not to talk about. Her childhood in an orphanage, and later going into labor with her second child at a refugee camp in Austria.
Growing up in Europe and during the wartime, raising two kids when there was nothing. It's amazing.
In Queens, she went to work at a knitting mill.
And she came here and she has accomplished a lot. I'm really proud of her.
She is even caretaker for her daughter, who is 20 years younger and living with dementia.
What kind of person is your mother?
She's very cool.
She's always been the most positive person I know.
Ani says a group home is not in the cards. She plans to stay right here and look after herself.
Do you have hopes for the future? What are you going to do for the next 100 years?
Not much.
A shining example of how to speak your mind, look for beauty in hard times, and never stop moving.
Well, she's living proof of having your cake and eating it too. Let's head over to Chris for a quick look at the forecast.
Yeah, we've got ourselves again a chilly start to the day out there into the 20s. Clouds increasing through the day and then eventually some wintry weather on the way. We'll have another full look at your forecast here in just a few more minutes on the KOAM Morning News. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 6:21 now on this Monday morning, starting with our current winter weather situation. So we do have winter storm watches. Now, these officially go into effect tomorrow and will run through Wednesday at least 6 o'clock in the evening. And that is because in this zone, we could see anywhere from 4 to 6, possibly as high as 8 inches of snow. At least that's the thought process as of right now. And the good news is since these were issued yesterday or were put out yesterday, they haven't changed, and hopefully they stay that way, because while I like the snow as much as the next person, I do not like 8-9 inches of snow that can cripple this region for days. All right, on to today. Today's okay. We're going to have mostly cloudy to cloudy skies. Eventually will just become cloudy. A bit breezy. Temperatures cool but seasonal. reasonably so. As we're hanging out in the 40s, and that's about where we should be for this time of year. Now, overnight tonight, Future Track's having a hard time picking up on it, but we are looking at that possibility. Maybe some light rain, some light snow mixed in there, so a bit of a wintry mix overnight. While we're not expecting really anything to accumulate tonight, could lead to slick spots, especially bridges and overpasses as we go overnight, because you can see we're going to be pretty darn chilly out there. Now into Tuesday, snow is possible. We're initially maybe a wintry mix and then eventually changing over to some light snow. Now Tuesday, we're not expecting too much in the way of accumulations. It's going to be Wednesday. And that's the day we are really watching. Let's take a look. By 5 o'clock Wednesday morning, we got snow just about everywhere, especially in the western half of our area. Then we have this. We talked about this before. Future Track picks up and lets us know about precipitation types at a certain point in the atmosphere because that's typically the point of measurement. The issue that we have is, and this is how we also tell about freezing rain, is when we show rain on the Future Track, but so temperatures at or below freezing at the surface. That's where freezing rain becomes a concern because the Future Track is saying it's going to be warm enough up here for this to be rain. It's going to be liquid, but it's going to be cold enough down here. It's going to cause some problems. This snow will go on throughout the first half of our day. You can see by Wednesday at noon, we're into several hours of snow, and eventually temperatures do fall back enough that majority of Wednesday, whatever falls, should be snow. And then it should wrap up by about 4 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. So let's take a look at the snow tracker. Again, this one thinks that we're going to get a bit more snow. Now, initially, I'm stopping it now for us. For the first round Tuesday, see, not too much. A tenth of an inch to a half inch at most. Maybe it's showing some slightly higher amounts off to in the eastern half of our area. But as we go into Wednesday and Thursday, this is the one that ultimately shows a bit more. Anywhere from 4 to 7 inches of snow in some of our northern counties with lighter amounts down south, but just about all of us seeing snow. Now, this one thinks we may get snow still, but thinks we'll get less. In fact, see, this band of about a tenth to half inch of snow is a little bit narrower than the other computer model within that same time frame. And then we go beyond that, and yes, it still shows in some locations, Iowa, for example, potentially upwards of 7 inches, but it's curbed those amounts outside of the far northern fringes of our area here. So we'll see what happens over the next 24 hours, just even over the next 12 hours, to be honest with you. And then again, it will also have that potential for maybe some freezing rain. Again, at this point, not anticipating anything significant from the freezing rain, but it could be enough, some slick spots, and accumulate on things like your car, your windshield, bridges, overpasses, things of that nature. So some stuff that we'll definitely want to keep an eye on. Quick look at temperatures, 27 in Joplin. We are again seeing those clouds begin to increase out there. Feels like 20 with an east-northeast breeze at about 6. Temperatures around the region, mid to upper 20s. So again, cold to start the day, but will eventually warm up. We're going to be upper 20s out there, mostly cloudy skies. Upper 30s by 11 o'clock. We'll have east winds, occasionally gusting to 20. But again, our highs today, about the mid-40s, be about the mid-30s Tuesday. And then Wednesday, talking low 30s for most of us. Breezy again tomorrow. Northeast winds gusting upwards of 20 to 25. Then very cold Wednesday night into Thursday morning, so down into the teens. A few lingering flurries Thursday, low 30s. Warmer Friday, maybe a wintry mix Saturday. It leads to slightly colder air heading into Sunday. And then we'll start warming back up again as we head into next week. So whatever we do get shouldn't stick around too terribly long out there. Let's check your forecast. We're going to send it over to Elise now with Health Watch.
Thanks, Chris. Well, doctors know that complications during pregnancy can raise the risk of cardiovascular disease later in life. But a study published in the European Heart Journal shows even siblings of pregnant women who experience pregnancy complications could have a higher risk of heart issues. The research suggests genes and shared environmental factors play a role in the link between pregnancy complications and cardiovascular disease. Well, Black mothers are dying during and after childbirth at a rate 3.5 times higher than white women. Federal health data shows the racial health gap for Black women is increasing, with systemic racism and unequal access to medical care being the main causes. The data also showed that overall maternal mortality in the U.S. has dropped since the COVID pandemic. Well, have you ever taken a nap on the job? One sleep expert says a short midday nap can restore you and leave you more alert. James Rowley from Rush University Medical Center says a nap should be in the 15 to 20 minute range any longer and you could end up groggy. But he says people who rely on naps to get through the day should examine their nighttime sleep habits. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. We'll be right back. Right now at 6:30, Pittsburgh's Literacy Cat Company hosted its first ever Kitty Bowl.
And we've got some clearing out there, but clouds will continue to increase through the day. We'll talk about that and a little bit about that snow might be on the way here in just a moment.
Plus, the SEK Humane Society hosted a chili feed with all donations going towards helping their animals.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:29. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Chris Warner. It's Monday, February the 10th. You ever forget what you're saying and then you just you have to just cut yourself off before you ramble on for 10 minutes about nothing?
Yes.
That's literally what just happened. I really forgot.
Some self-censorship.
Not tell me about it. It just. There are days though, because then you try and correct it, but because you're already in a frenzy, and you just keep sputtering words and phrases out that make no sense.
While you're behind.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much. So, but yeah, we do have snow chances on the way. We'll talk about that in detail here in a little bit, but we got to get through Monday. Monday is Stuff Mondays. We've talked about Super Bowl yesterday. I'm sure you folks at home have seen it or are aware as to what happened yesterday. But it's all right. We're going to get through it together, right?
It's going to take a while, I feel like it. But yes, we'll get through it eventually.
Well, we're going to start with a look outside, shall we? Downtown Pittsburgh. So, again, I've been talking about this, too. I kind of want to keep an eye, especially on the MoDOT cameras, because you know how quickly Rangeline fills up with traffic. I'm kind of curious if it's going to end up looking like a holiday today, and there will be fewer cars on the road. I wonder how many folks are not going to work or school today because of last night. Now, anyway, it looks great. We got a nice mix of colors out there, but clouds continuing to increase, and they will do that throughout the day. MoDOT camera 20th and Rangeline. I'll be honest, there's a few more cars on the road than I was expecting, so maybe not nearly as many folks are bedridden with that loss yesterday as you might be thinking. We do have winter storm watches. Our northwestern counties, these officially go into effect tomorrow and will run through 6 o'clock Wednesday evening, because in these zones we could receive some hefty amounts of snow, which again we'll cover in detail in a few more minutes. As for today, mostly cloudy to cloudy skies. Gusty east winds, and eventually, as we end of the evening, we will just become straight up cloudy out there, and eventually maybe a light wintry mix overnight tonight after midnight. No accumulations expected, but some slick spots possible tomorrow morning. Right now, though, it is cold. We're in the mid to upper 20s across the area, all of us sitting into the 20s this morning. So kids getting on the bus this morning will want that jacket. Upper 20s, mostly cloudy. Northeast breeze around 5 to 10. East winds gusting to 20 this afternoon. Cloudy, about 45. In the mid to upper 40s is where we're headed for our highs today, with those clouds increasing and again those occasionally gusty east winds. As I mentioned, a light wintry mix possible after midnight, could lead to some slick spots. Tomorrow starts the event, but Wednesday looks to be the main show. We'll go over what we do know and, as I've mentioned before, what we don't know with you here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, Hideout Harley-Davidson in Joplin hosted its 3rd annual chili cook-off for the Super Bowl. The top 3 winners out of the 8 contestants each got trophies, and the top winner received a $150 cash prize. The staff of the store also put out their predictions for the big game.
Just getting the community together, just to be able to hang out at the Harley shop and enjoy some chili and hang out with good company. No matter what happens at the Super Bowl, that we're all here enjoying the love of the football game and love of Harley-Davidson. So.
Well, many of the staff are hoping for it to be a close game. The Literacy Cat Company in Pittsburgh hosted its first Kitty Bowl. The teams are the Chiefs versus the other guys, and one cat named Boots has scored 2 touchdowns. Customers can also give a donation to either team, and whichever one wins, they get a chance for 50% off books at the store.
Seeing the smiles and the laughter from people that come in and letting them see these once stray and homeless cats be social and loved, and hoping they're going to get a forever home today.
If you want to lower the number of stray cats, make sure to get your animals spayed and neutered. The Southeast Kansas Humane Society hosts their annual chili feed to support the animals in their care. KOAM's Mitch Adams has more.
The Southeast Kansas Humane Society hosted a chili feed with all donations going towards their animals. The chili feed has a long history in Pittsburgh, one that's coming up on a half a century.
We have our 48th annual chili dinner happening today. It's our largest fundraiser that we do every year. 40 years ago, probably never thought that this type of event would last and be blown up this big. So we're super appreciative of the community support for us allowing to have another 48th year of this.
$8 gets you a bowl of chili, a drink, and a dessert, with each dollar finding its way back to the Humane Society.
From our spays and neuters, from our vaccines, to our microchip clinics, to 100% goes to every single animal out at that shelter.
Community volunteers worked in the kitchen, while Reese Nichols Realty volunteered in front of the building, handing out quarts of chili to the drive-up customers, all for the sake of the animals.
A lot of the community that we see is not only indoors, but outside too. We started the drive-through many years ago, and that blew up. I mean, from people just driving through to go home to the big football game. So whether we see you indoor dining and sitting down, or just through the drive-through giving us a high five, thank you. We thank every single person of the community that came out to support this event.
In Pittsburgh, Mitch Adams, KOAM News.
Como Jewelry had a Blingo Bingo game at the chili feed where players could win different accessories. Let's look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. President Trump says he wants the Treasury Department to stop making pennies. And we have a cold and partly cloudy day today. We'll have what to expect with Chris Warner in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, for Americans looking for a new job, the government's January jobs report gave the first glimpse of the U.S. labor market in 2025. Karen Kafa has the details from Washington.
Slow but steady is how the U.S. labor market started 2025, maybe a little more sluggish than what some economists had expected. The Bureau of Labor Statistics said Friday that the U.S. economy created 143,000 jobs in January. Economists had forecast 170,000. The unemployment rate dipped to 4%. Among sectors leading job growth, healthcare, which added 44,000 jobs, and retail, which added 34,000. So what does this all mean if you're looking for a job right now? First, retail and healthcare are among the best places to look. Beyond that, some economists say companies are hiring like they would in a recession. So the flexibility and leverage job seekers had immediately out of the pandemic just aren't there. Anecdotally, some job seekers have said that the big jobs reports of 2024 didn't align with their personal job search challenges, and new data in Friday's report backs up that sentiment. The Labor Department revised its estimate of jobs created last year downward by 589,000, just shy of 2 million jobs created for 2024. The Federal Reserve intentionally sought to slow hiring with higher interest rates to tamp down inflation before cutting rates for the first time in 4 years in September. Now the Fed faces other factors in the labor force like Trump administration immigration policy and the current uncertainty for millions of members of the federal workforce. With the Trump administration not sworn in until January 20th, most of the month belonged to the Biden administration. And in a statement on Friday, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the report, quote, underscores the necessity of President Trump's pro-growth policies. The February report, which will look at the first full month of the Trump administration, releases on March 7th. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
President Donald Trump is taking aim at the U.S. penny in his quest to cut government spending. On social media overnight, the president wrote that he has instructed the Treasury Secretary to stop producing new pennies. A report from the U.S. Mint last year said the 1 cent penny, which is made of zinc with a copper overlay, actually costs more than 3 cents to make. A family-friendly Dog Man topped the weekend box office in North America, fetching nearly $14 million. Slasher comedy Heart Eyes toured to the second spot with more than $8 million, and action comedy Love Hurts took third with over $5 million. And after Super Bowl Sunday, there's Starbucks Monday. Today, the coffee chain is giving rewards members a free tall, hot, or iced coffee. Starbucks fans can redeem the coupon when ordering ahead on the app or present the coupon when ordering in person. Now that's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, I imagine there's going to be quite a few people probably cashing in on that offer today. You may need it. You definitely want something warm over the next few days so you can get cold. But as for today, got a great look outside downtown Pittsburgh. We do have mostly cloudy skies, and that'll continue to be the trend today. MoDOT camera 20th in range line. It's still difficult to see, but it's looking back to the north, and it is still mostly cloudy. Winter storm watches, our northwestern counties. These again will officially go into effect tomorrow and run through 6 o'clock Wednesday evening. And up in these zones is where we could see higher amounts of snow. Now, that's one thing we talked about last week, and we'll get into details later, but it appeared as though the greater snow amounts were going to stay off to our north and west, and that still seems to be the case. But you know, Mother Nature does her own thing. Things can change, and we'll keep you updated. As it stands today, though, not a bad day. Again, mostly cloudy to cloudy skies. Temperatures cool, but seasonably so as we hang out in the 40s. And we'll have some gusty winds out there. Now, overnight tonight, after midnight, could have a stray little mix, wintry mix here or there. So we're, again, not talking anything major in accumulations, but could lead to some slick spots as we start the day tomorrow. So do be prepared for that. Cold right now, though, mid to upper 20s, but every last one of us out there this morning sitting in the 20s as we start this day, which does mean that the kids getting on the bus, they are going to want that jacket. Upper 20s, mostly cloudy skies, northeast winds around 5 to 10, and when that bus brings them back, mid-40s, cloudy, east winds occasionally gusting upwards of 20. We're going to have another look at your forecast. Like I said, we're going to break down everything we do and do not know so far about the snow incoming as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday across the area. We'll also celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. Those are coming up too. But first, here's what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Tony DeCoppel. Coming up on CBS Mornings, David Begnaud has another edition of Begnaud's America, where you'll meet a high school football player who proves you don't have to be the tallest or the biggest guy on the field to be the best. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
All right, time for some Monday birthdays in the 4 states. We're going to start in Sarcoxy with Lucas Myers celebrating birthday number 6 with happy birthday coming from the family.
And a happy 11th birthday to Cash Meadows in Liberal. It says, "We love you, Cash Man," from Mima, Papa Gary, and Grandma Leanne.
And we also have Dorothy Mallet celebrating birthday number 19 in Chanute with happy birthday wishes coming from Oma and Grandpa.
And a happy 33rd birthday to Jessica Pease in Oswego. It says, "Happy birthday, love your husband and kids."
And in Erie, Melinda Beard, who happens to be the lady on the left, is celebrating birthday number 40. A very happy birthday to you, Melinda.
And happy 40th anniversary to Roger and LaDonna Bambury in Edna.
And in Humboldt, Wayne McDown celebrating another year wiser, says, "From Michelle and Zach, we love you and enjoy the day."
And happy birthday to Debbie Dudley in Moran.
And our list continues with Timber Mitchell in Humboldt celebrating birthday number 5 with love from JoJo and Grandma Tammy.
And happy 25th birthday to Hayden Still. It says, "Happy birthday, we love you and are proud of you, love Dad and Sherry."
And in Baxter Springs, Daisy Schoolry celebrating birthday number 71. Happy birthday, Daisy.
And happy birthday to Michael Jarman in Joplin. It says, "Happy birthday from the Gang of 9.
And in Pittsburgh, Kaylee Bordemus celebrating another year wiser as well. Another great list of birthdays and anniversaries, but that's an entire page of folks without pictures. And I find it hard to believe that there are not photos of these folks floating around out there. So if you want to celebrate with those pictures, how do they do it, Elise?
Go ahead and submit your birthdays and anniversaries to birthdays@KOAMNewsNow.com. As Chris mentioned, make sure to include those wonderful photos and also include any messages for your loved ones to also meet the deadline that you see there at the bottom of your screen, and to include the date of your celebration when submitting as well.
Very important information for you to do. And now I have very important information for you. We got snow chances. There's still some variables out there, all right? It is wintry weather, and I'm going to tell you right now, all the years that I have followed weather since I was a kid, winter weather sucks the most. And I'm not saying it because I don't like snow. Snow's fine, whatever. It's in terms of forecasting winter weather, because you folks at home, if you've watched Doug long enough, if you've watched weather long enough in your life, all it takes with winter weather is that freezing line to move 1 mile one way or the other. It takes the slightest variable to go into play, and it turns everything upside down. Now, don't get me wrong, variables can make a big difference with severe weather season, but it takes a little bit more than just a mile or two shift of something to throw severe weather season into chaos. But with winter weather, boy, that's all it takes. It's just a minor variance, and all of a sudden, everything we've told you is wrong. That's not the case as of yet, but I'm going to tell you there's still some variables in place. So let's start with this. You've been looking at it. You're like, what is this? Well, these are winter storm watches. Boy, the color is very close to winter weather advisories. They should change that. But these are winter storm watches. They'll officially go into effect tomorrow and run until Wednesday at 6 p.m. Because at this point in this zone, and by the way, these winter storm watches are all the way up here. They're all of I-70 and points along that in northern Kansas. And that's where the greater risk for the most snowfall is. And that is still somewhat consistent with what we talked about last week, where it seemed as though the heavier amounts were going to be off to our north. That still seems to be the case. Now, that's not to say we're not going to get snow down here, and it's not to say we're not going to get a decent amount of snow down here, but the worst of it should stay to our north. But that also goes into, if you've got travel plans up to the north, you definitely want to be sure that you are prepared for that snow potential. Now, for today, we're looking at mostly cloudy and then eventually cloudy skies. We're going to be cool, but seasonably so. We'll be in the 40s. That's about where we should be. Overnight tonight, it's not showing up too well on the future track it tries, but we're looking at the possibility of a wintry mix. It'll be light, so we're not anticipating anything in terms of accumulations, but could lead to slick spots as we start the day Tuesday. As we go about mid-morning Tuesday into the afternoon, here comes the snow. Bit of a wintry mix initially, and then maybe just that snow. Now, yeah, we're going to get snow, and yeah, it may stick to things out there Tuesday, but we're not looking at major accumulations from Tuesday. We'll go over that with you in a moment. In fact, both of the computer models, that's one thing they do agree on, is tomorrow, yeah, we may get something, but it's not going to be that much. It's Wednesday. Wednesday is what we're really watching. Here we are, 5 o'clock Wednesday, which means you back this up to about 2, 3 a.m. It's already rolling in. Now, we talked about, too, the future track with this rain. It's because it's showing rain at a certain level in the atmosphere, the one that's usually used to determine precipitation types. But temperatures at the surface could be at or below freezing, which means that rain will freeze once it reaches the ground, so we could have some freezing rain potential. We'll talk about that as well. Snow through the majority of the first half of our Wednesday, so we're talking as early again as 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Here we are at noon, still snow across the area. It'll be about 4 by the time the last of that snow wraps up on out of here, maybe 5 at the latest. So what are we looking at in terms of snow? This one, we're going to stop real quick. Tuesday, 9 p.m. The majority of us, you can see it shows about a dusting, so about a 1/10 to ½ inch of snow, and it's picking up on possibly some higher amounts in our far eastern counties. Now we'll take it all the way through the Wednesday system. That's when the snow totals really ramp up. So this is what I'm saying. We're not too worried about tomorrow. It's Wednesday. If you are north of 126 or right along it in north, that's where the greater amounts of snow appear to be, at least from this computer model's perspective. But you see there are sharp drop-offs from point to point, but it's showing where we could get upwards of 6 or 7 inches in our northern counties, and that's what those winter storm watches are for in our northwestern counties. Now the other one, it takes into account all the same factors. Tuesday, 9 p.m., there's that dusting still, but you see now it's a narrower band of where that dusting is, and once we take it the rest of the way through Wednesday's snow, it shows the same thing. Those northwestern counties where winter storm watches does seem like the likely location for some heavier snow. It's what's going to happen outside of that that's a little bit on the variance here. So it's still something we want to watch. And you guys know, unfortunately in our area, it doesn't take a lot of snow to cause a lot of problems. So we definitely want to keep an eye on that. The last thing I want to show you is that possibility of maybe some freezing rain accumulations, so some ice accumulations going all the way through Thursday. We're not anticipating anything major at this point, so not a major ice storm or anything, but still enough to lead to slick spots and accumulate on bridges and overpasses. So a lot we'll have to continue to monitor. We'll have another look at your forecast plus news you need to know here in just a moment. And when we switch over to Fox 14 at 7 a.m., a woman in Virginia is on a mission to donate 1 million books to share her love with reading with inmates in jail.
And here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A protest in Joplin took place Saturday afternoon about policies put forth by the Trump administration. This protest is similar to the ones in both Carthage and Pittsburgh. The protest took place on the corner of 7th and Rangeline. No incidents have been reported. The Southeast Kansas Humane Society hosts their annual chili feed to support the animals in their care. Participants enjoyed a bowl of chili, crackers, a drink, and dessert, with all proceeds going to support the Humane Society. Como Jewelry also had a Blingo Bingo game where players could win different accessories. And a Pittsburgh woman says she finally has answers about whether a mold problem in her home was fixed. It's a story we originally brought to you back in September. Tonight on KOAM, we'll have the details on what mold testing found in her home and why specialists say the findings could have impacts on her family's health. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And as for today, again, seasonably cool, mid-40s out there, mostly cloudy and eventually cloudy skies. East winds occasionally gusting to 20. Winds will ease up this evening and overnight, falling back in the low 30s. Could get a light wintry mix overnight tonight. Could lead some slick spots tomorrow. Again, some light snow possible through the day. Breezy on Tuesday. No major accumulations expected, but we could get up to a dusting, maybe a half-inch here and there. The main snow event still looks to be Wednesday for about 30 degrees, and we could see a fair amount of snow, something we want to watch very carefully. Warmer by Friday, more wintry weather Saturday, cold on Sunday, warming up next week.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're making baked spaghetti cake in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. Coming up, Ad Age Editor-in-Chief Jeannie Pogge breaks down some of the best commercials from Super Bowl 59.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, a freeze on foreign aid sparks confusion and fear among humanitarian workers.
Plus, we'll see how one organization is using teddy bears to spread kindness. It's going to wrap it up for us for now, though. Depending on everything, make sure you're prepared for slick spots, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you today at noon.